Most people think Saudi wealth is about oil money and luxury, but the truth is far deeper and far more calculated. This family doesn't just own billions, they control systems worth trillions. From private investment empires to assets that shape global markets, nothing here is accidental. Watch until the end, because we'll reveal the single structure that explains why this dynasty's wealth doesn't rise or fall, it compounds forever. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, the trillionaire power broker. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman is not simply the heir to the Saudi throne. He is the operating center of one of the most powerful financial systems on earth. While his personal wealth is estimated at $25 billion, that number barely scratches the surface of his real influence. His power does not come from private income, but from command over institutions that shape global energy, capital, and geopolitics. At the core of that power sits Saudi Aramco, a company valued at over $2 trillion, producing more oil than most nations combined. Aramco is not just a corporation, it is the financial engine that feeds the Saudi state, funds global investments, and underwrites long-term political leverage. Through Aramco's profits, MBS controls the flow of capital that sustains Saudi Arabia's transformation and secures its global relevance. Alongside Aramco stands the Public Investment Fund, a sovereign wealth machine managing assets approaching $1 trillion. This fund quietly stakes ownership across technology, sports, infrastructure, entertainment, and artificial intelligence worldwide. From Silicon Valley to European football, MBS doesn't chase returns alone. He buys influence, access, and future leverage, positioning Saudi capital at the center of tomorrow's industries. Even his personal assets reflect strategy rather than indulgence. The superyacht Serene, valued at $600 million, is not a floating toy. It functions as a mobile command space, equipped for privacy, security, and high-level negotiations beyond public scrutiny. His private aviation fleet, estimated near $1 billion, is engineered for performance and endurance, allowing governance to continue uninterrupted across continents. Then there is Chateau Louisé in France, purchased for $300 million. On the surface, it appears to be a luxury residence. In reality, it represents something deeper, a physical foothold in Europe, blending discretion, prestige, and long-term asset security. Every detail signals permanence rather than display. All of this feeds into Vision 2030, MBS's blueprint to convert oil wealth into diversified, self-sustaining power. This is not reform for popularity, it is restructuring for survival in a post-oil world. New cities, global investments, cultural expansion, and technological dominance are designed to ensure Saudi Arabia remains indispensable long after oil peaks. This is why Mohammed bin Salman operates on a different level from traditional billionaires. He does not react to markets, he reshapes them. Comment below what surprised you most about MBS's strategy, because in the next part we'll examine another royal figure whose wealth moves just as quietly but plays a very different game. King Salman bin Abdulaziz, the keeper of the dynasty. Power in the Saudi royal family does not begin with ambition. It begins with continuity. King Salman bin Abdulaziz represents something far more enduring than individual wealth: legitimacy. Long before trillion-dollar funds and mega projects, his authority was built through decades of governance, control of institutions, and mastery of the kingdom's internal balance. Unlike modern billionaire figures who rise through disruption, King Salman's influence was forged through stability. As governor of Riyadh for nearly 50 years, he oversaw the transformation of a desert capital into a political and administrative stronghold. That experience shaped how royal power would later be centralized, preserved, and protected. At the physical heart of that authority stands Al Yama Palace in Riyadh. Spanning more than 4 million square feet, the complex functions as the kingdom's true command center. Its value is not measured in market listings, but estimates place its construction and ongoing operation in the multiple billions of dollars. With over 1,000 rooms, secure medical wings, private mosques, underground command corridors, and reinforced security zones, Al Yama is less a residence than a fortified capital within a capital. King Salman's architectural footprint extends far beyond one palace. Al Salam Palace in Jeddah serves as a coastal seat of power, while Urga Palace hosts diplomatic engagements under layers of controlled privacy. Each structure blends traditional Islamic design with modern surveillance, climate engineering and security infrastructure. These are not displays of excess, they are instruments of governance designed to endure unrest, succession and geopolitical pressure. Unlike royal figures known for yachts or art collections, King Salman's assets are largely immovable. His wealth is embedded in land, architecture and institutions rather than transportable luxury. Where others collect cars or jets, he maintains spaces where power is exercised and transferred. This distinction matters. Buildings do not depreciate in relevance when leadership changes. They anchor authority across generations. Even historically preserved sites like Muraba Palace, now a museum, serve a strategic role. They reinforce lineage, reminding both citizens and foreign leaders that the modern Saudi state is rooted in legacy, not improvisation. Preservation becomes a political signal. King Salman's role is often misunderstood because it is quiet. He does not dominate headlines with deals or spectacle. Instead, he ensures that the system survives its own evolution. In a dynasty managing wealth estimated at over $1 trillion, that function may be the most valuable asset of all. And as the next generation accelerates forward, this foundation explains why the House of Saud does not fracture under change, it absorbs it. Prince Alwaleed bin Talal, the global investor prince. If power in the House of Saud is inherited, Prince Alwaleed bin Talal represents something far rarer inside royal circles: earned influence through global capital. His authority was not built on oil wells or state positions, but on spreadsheets, boardrooms, and long-term bets that reshaped how Middle Eastern money moved through Western markets. With a personal fortune exceeding $17 billion, Alwaleed became known as the royal who understood capitalism beyond borders. While others ruled through territory, he ruled through equity. In the 1990s and early 2000s, he quietly positioned himself inside companies that defined global culture and infrastructure. Through Kingdom Holding Company, he invested early in Apple, Twitter, Citigroup, and the Four Seasons hotel brand, transforming a Saudi prince into a recognizable name on Wall Street. His wealth was not symbolic, it was operational. At the height of his global reach, Alwaleed controlled a portfolio spanning technology, finance, hospitality, media and aviation, with assets scattered across North America, Europe and the Middle East. His personal aircraft alone reflected that scale. The Boeing 747 VIP jet, valued at approximately $300 million, was configured as a flying residence, complete with private suites, conference rooms, a prayer space, and medical-grade comfort systems designed for ultra-long-haul travel between continents. On the ground, his real estate footprint reinforced the same message. Alwaleed owned luxury residences in Riyadh, London, and multiple European capitals, each valued in the tens to hundreds of millions of dollars. These properties were not merely homes. They functioned as strategic bases for diplomacy, deal-making, and access to elite financial networks. His London holdings alone placed him among the most prominent foreign property owners in the city's ultra-prime market. Then came 2017. During Saudi Arabia's high-profile anti-corruption campaign, Alwaleed was detained alongside other elites at the Ritz-Carlton in Riyadh. For many observers, it appeared to mark the end of his era. But, unlike figures whose wealth depended on proximity to power, Alwaleed's leverage was portable. His comeback was not loud, it was transactional. In 2022, he re-emerged by selling 17.7% of Kingdom Holding Company in a deal valued at approximately $1.5 billion, instantly restoring liquidity and reaffirming his relevance within the kingdom's evolving financial order. It was a reminder that ownership, not position, is what survives political turbulence. Prince Alwaleed's story reveals a different dimension of Saudi wealth. Not palaces or mega projects, but capital that moves, adapts, and compounds. And in a dynasty measured in trillions, that kind of flexibility may be the most dangerous power of all. Queen Fahda bint Falah al-Hithlain, the silent stabilizer. Power inside the House of Saud does not always announce itself with palaces or fleets of supercars. In some cases, it moves quietly, deliberately, and almost invisibly. Queen Fahda bint Falah al-Hithlain represents that form of authority. Rarely photographed, rarely quoted, and almost never discussed publicly, she operates as one of the most stabilizing forces within the modern Saudi royal structure. Unlike figures whose influence is measured through titles or net worth, Queen Fahda's power is structural. As the wife of King Salman and the mother of Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, her position places her at the center of generational continuity inside the monarchy. In royal systems, continuity is not symbolic, it is strategic insurance. Her focus has consistently remained away from spectacle and toward long-term human capital. Queen Fahda has quietly supported education initiatives, particularly programs aimed at expanding access for Saudi women, as well as medical institutions specializing in long-term care, rehabilitation, and chronic disease treatment. While specific figures are rarely disclosed, comparable royal-backed endowments in the kingdom often operate at scales exceeding hundreds of millions of dollars, funded through private royal allocations rather than public budgets. Her lifestyle reflects the same philosophy. Rather than sprawling show palaces, Queen Fahda is known to favor controlled, wellness-oriented residences designed around privacy, medical readiness, and environmental stability. These estates prioritize air filtration systems, low-noise architecture, and climate-controlled interiors. In royal construction, such design specifications routinely place individual residences in the tens of millions of dollars, even without visible extravagance. Travel follows a similar pattern. When Queen Fahda moves, it is not for public appearances, but for carefully planned medical or family purposes. Aircraft assigned to her use are configured with advanced health support systems, including specialized seating, humidity regulation, and medical monitoring. Outfitting a single long-range royal aircraft to this standard, separate from the airframe itself, inside the royal family, she is often described as a balancing presence, particularly during periods of transition. In dynasties where ambition, reform, and consolidation can generate internal tension, stability becomes an asset more valuable than visibility. Her role is not to command policy, but to preserve cohesion between generations, ensuring that rapid modernization does not fracture the institution holding it together. Queen Fahda's influence reminds us that not all power seeks attention. Some of the most consequential figures in trillion-dollar dynasties leave no paper trail, no headlines, and no spectacle. They leave continuity. And in monarchies built to outlast decades, continuity is the rarest luxury of all. Prince Turki bin Salman, the strategic operator. In modern royal dynasties, not every architect of power stands on a balcony or delivers speeches. Some operate entirely behind balance sheets, boardrooms, and long-term capital flows. Prince Turki bin Salman belongs to that category. As chairman of Alwaleed Holding Company, his influence is not visible in headlines, but deeply embedded in the financial machinery supporting Saudi Arabia's transformation. Alwaleed Holding is structured to align directly with Vision 2030, focusing on sectors that produce stability rather than spectacle. Under Prince Turki's oversight, investment spans strategic real estate, sustainable agriculture, healthcare infrastructure, and international finance. These are not fast return assets. They are slow, compounding systems designed to endure beyond oil cycles. Comparable diversified holding companies operating at this scale routinely manage portfolios valued in the multi-billion-dollar range, even without public listings. One of Prince Turki's most sensitive responsibilities is the management of private real estate assets connected to King Salman. These properties are not symbolic palaces for ceremony, they are operational environments designed around security, discretion, and longevity. High-end royal estates under this category often incorporate advanced air purification, energy redundancy, and medical-ready infrastructure. Individual developments with these specifications can easily exceed $30 million per residence, excluding land value. What distinguishes Prince Turki is not the volume of assets, but the way capital is deployed. His approach favors control over visibility, ownership over branding, and resilience over speed. In a global environment where wealth is often leveraged for attention, his model reflects a different philosophy: power that functions best when unnoticed. Internationally, Prince Turki cultivates long-term partnerships rather than short-term deals. These relationships often involve co-investment structures, agricultural supply chains, and healthcare logistics rather than luxury acquisitions. Such agreements may not produce viral headlines, but they secure access, influence, and continuity across borders. For royal-linked investment entities, even a single cross-border infrastructure partnership can represent commitments worth hundreds of millions of dollars over decades. Inside the royal family structure, Prince Turki represents a new generation of operational leadership. He is not tasked with public reform messaging or ceremonial duties. His role is quieter but essential, ensuring that capital flows, assets remain protected, and modernization is financially sustainable. In dynasties where trillions of dollars intersect with national transformation, visibility can be a liability. Prince Turki bin Salman's strength lies in understanding that the most durable form of power is not declared, it is maintained. Prince Abdulaziz bin Fahda, the next generation capitalist. In every royal dynasty there is a moment when wealth stops being inherited and starts being re-engineered. Prince Abdulaziz bin Fahda represents that shift. His role inside the Saudi royal ecosystem is not ceremonial, nor is it loud. It is analytical, forward-looking, and deliberately insulated from public attention. Unlike earlier generations whose fortunes were built almost entirely on oil-dole revenues, Prince Abdulaziz positioned himself early within telecommunications, energy transition, and sustainable real estate. These sectors were not chosen for prestige, but for inevitability. Telecommunications infrastructure alone requires long-term capital commitments, where individual regional investments often exceed $200 million, particularly when tied to data routing, fiber networks, and cross-border capacity agreements. His real estate portfolio reflects the same discipline. Rather than iconic landmarks, the focus is on strategic global locations that benefit from regulatory stability, logistics access, and demographic growth. High-performance residential and mixed-use assets, designed under this philosophy, typically range from $25 million to $80 million per development, depending on jurisdiction and land value. These are assets built to function quietly while compounding value over decades. A defining feature of Prince Abdulaziz's holdings is their wellness-centered design. Properties emphasize air quality control, natural light engineering, acoustic isolation, and ergonomic spatial planning. In premium developments, these features alone can add $5 to $10 million to construction costs, but significantly extend asset lifespan and tenant demand. This reflects a broader philosophy. Capital should enhance performance, not merely display status. In parallel with Prince Turki bin Salman, Prince Abdulaziz embodies a generation of royals who treat wealth as infrastructure rather than ornamentation. Their collaboration is not based on visibility but on alignment. Telecommunications supports data sovereignty. Energy transition hedges geopolitical risk. Real estate anchors long-term capital. What sets Prince Abdulaziz apart is restraint. In a family where spectacle is easy, he chooses durability over drama. His influence is not measured by headlines or collections, but by systems that continue operating when attention moves elsewhere. In modern dynasties, longevity belongs to those who understand that true power is not announced, it is engineered to last. The House of Saud, why this family is richer than you think. When people hear the word billionaire, they imagine an individual, a founder, a CEO, a name attached to a company. But the House of Saud does not operate at the level of individuals. It operates as a financial system disguised as a family. This dynasty does not merely own assets, it controls the mechanisms that decide who owns assets. Oil is only the surface layer. Beneath it lies land, sovereign capital, policy authority, and legal power moving in synchronized alignment. Saudi Aramco alone, valued at over $2 trillion, generates more annual profit than most Fortune 500 companies combined. Yet Aramco is not a corporation in the Western sense. It is a state instrument, and the state is inseparable from the royal family. Beyond oil, the public investment fund, managing more than $900 billion, functions as a global capital allocator. It does not chase returns, it reshapes markets. Stakes in technology, sports, entertainment, logistics, and infrastructure are not passive investments, they are leverage positions. Individual deals frequently exceed $5 to $20 billion, deployed with timelines measured in decades, not quarters. Land ownership further cements this dominance. The royal family controls vast swaths of Saudi territory, including areas later transformed into mega projects like NEOM. When land transitions into development, its valuation can multiply from near zero to hundreds of billions of dollars overnight. This is not appreciation, it is structural authority converting geography into capital. The defining difference between Western billionaires and the House of Saud is simple but profound. Western wealth exists inside the system. Saudi royal wealth is the system. Laws, contracts, taxation, energy pricing, and foreign investment frameworks all move through institutions aligned with the family's interests. There is no separation between political power and financial power. They are fused. This is why comparing the House of Saud to tech founders or hedge fund managers fundamentally misses the point. A billionaire can lose market share. A dynasty that controls energy flows, capital pipelines, and sovereign policy operates at a different altitude entirely. This is why estimates place the family's collective influence at $1.4 to $1.5 trillion, a figure that fluctuates not with markets, but with strategy. This is not wealth built for display, it is wealth engineered for permanence. And once you see it this way, you realize the House of Saud is not richer than you think by accident, it is richer by design. If this perspective changed how you understand power, comment below with one word that describes this dynasty to you. What this story really shows is that the House of Saud isn't rich in the way billionaires are rich. First, control beats cash. Their power comes from owning institutions, oil, sovereign funds, land, and policy, not from salaries or stock prices. Second, wealth is designed, not spent. From aviation fleets to real estate and investments, every asset serves strategy, stability, and longevity. Third, legacy outlives individuals. While most fortunes fade within generations, this dynasty builds systems meant to survive political shifts, market crashes, and even energy transitions. This is why their wealth operates on a trillionaire level, far beyond tech founders or hedge fund legends. If this video reshaped how you think about money and power, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for the channel. And don't miss part 2, where we break down how this dynasty quietly expands its influence outside the Middle East and why the world depends on it more than it admits.